Hi friends, welcome to episode 15 and Chris Foss, I promised you to them like several episodes ago because we always reschedule. So we met on Facebook. You asked about my show and then you told me about your book. You just released the book, what, in just a month ago or so?
Yeah, so it's been a little bit over a month now.
Oh, and the name of it is Enhance Yourself from Within.
Enhance your life
Oh,
from
sorry,
within.
sorry.
I
Enhance Your
have it
Life.
right here. Let's see.
Yeah, show it.
Let's see.
Nice.
Enhance
How
your life
many
from within.
how many pages in there?
It's about 167 pages,
Wow. And you
I
said
think.
it took you about 2 years?
About 2 years to get it right how I wanted it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so impressive. I don't think people understand. You only just turned 25. To me, it's like exciting because, the younger generation, I'm a teacher, I'm a mother. So for me to see something like that is so exciting. So you want to talk about your book a little bit before I start asking you questions?
Learn. So the best way to explain what the book is about is to read from the back page here. So the first four lines of the back page description are: read the following questions very slowly. Who am I? What is life? What is my purpose? And then there's obviously more, but basically the book is about discovering who you truly are on a spiritual level. And then there are actually two parts to the book. So part one is called Awaken to Your True Nature, and part two is called Creating and Designing, or Designing and Creating Your Dream Life, which teaches the law of attraction and manifestation from a very practical standpoint. So, yeah,
Yeah, so the question that you just read, do you think everybody asks themselves these questions? I don't think so.
I think they do, but most people suppress these questions. They don't actually face them because it can be scary to know that you don't know the answer. So as humans, we fear the unknown, and usually for most people, the answers to those questions are unknown.
Yeah, but see the question itself, right? I never even thought about this question until I took psychedelics. My show is about psychedelics.
Mm.
I never even had that question. Why would I even ask myself? Well, if I know who I am. I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, I'm a woman, that's all it was. But when I took psychedelics, I don't know who was talking to me. I thought it was me. And it was telling me about who I am. It was taking me all the way down to my childhood and, just saying, this is who you are. Remember this, remember that, remember that. Right? Is this something that you experienced too?
Yeah, I've had experiences with psychedelics, and I've had these like I've really faced myself. I didn't really do them for, like, in the beginning, a lot of people will start with psychedelics or what I like to call plant medicines now.
Right.
We would do them for fun, like to hang out and get messed up and, get high. But now, and when I would do the plant medicines, I would do it for insight, and I would sit with myself. I wouldn't hang out with anybody. I would just be in my room, and I would take either mushrooms or LSD, and I would just sit with myself, and I would learn a lot about myself, and it just opened up doors to like different dimensions, a whole completely different perception of life.
I love that you're saying that because you know how people are apprehensive and they say, oh, it's just drugs, but it's not. And so let me ask you this. So, who is talking to you when all these things are happening? When you get to know yourself, is that your higher self? Is that the spirit, the source? Like, what's happening?
Hmm. Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I go into these experiences, I always make a agreement with myself that I'm not going to come to any conclusions about my life or make any important life decisions for the next 6, 8 hours, because it can take you into many different states of mind, and it can make you think differently, and it can definitely blur your perception a little bit. So
Oh,
I just don't pay too much attention to whatever thoughts are going. I kind of just feel, because thoughts can go 100 different directions. So I kind of just feel. Now, for the most part, your thoughts are just memory. So all of the things from the past, those thoughts come up, it's just recycled memory. And then your imagination is projecting those memories into the future.
Oh, okay.
So if you realize that your thoughts, like it's just like what's inside of here is like a recycle bin. It's just recycled everything from the past. And that's all that's happening is different combinations and amalgamations of your thoughts, creating a whole bunch of different scenarios and projecting into the future and looping the past over and over and over. But there is an aspect of yourself that you call your higher self or your true self, or this is like what you call intuition. It's kind of like when you're directed somewhere or to say something at a certain time, and you just feel like that comes from something higher. It's not just like the nonsense thoughts that comes up about the past. Like it's that guidance, that higher power, true self. And usually, if you have good discernment, you can tell the difference between when you're receiving like true guidance or true download from something higher, or if it's just your past thoughts recycling. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but again, it's something that you need to master and practice, right? So, okay, so I wanted to ask you this. As a teacher and a mother, um, especially now that I had the spiritual activation or awakening, whatever you call it, because apparently I was always spiritual, I just didn't know about it. So now I'm aware of it. Um, if what you are teaching in this book, let's say this was taught to children in the early age, like in school, which schools would never allow that, right? You think the schools would allow this?
Well, I wouldn't want to come to that conclusion because that's a part of my vision is to get this information into the schools.
Me too. Me too, Chris. Once me and you spoke, I don't know what it was, a channeling, download, I don't know what to call that. I said, oh my God, I have to write a children's book. The first, it's going to be a whole bunch of them, but the first one is about connecting with nature, playing outside, getting off the devices, playing with friends, building connections, hugging trees, walking around barefoot, whatever it is, loving nature. And I wrote the book already, so it's done. I just have to publish it. I think you are the one subconsciously who like maybe made me think of that, I think.
What I want to get into schools is meditation. I think the whole world could change if we could get meditation into the schools and have these kids practice meditation instead of like when there's a hyperactive kid, they say he has ADHD and they prescribe him a pill. I think meditation would bring those diagnoses down by, I mean, it's an arbitrary number, but I would say probably 50%. Like it's meditation can solve so many problems that we just throw pills out to try to solve.
Yeah. And the feelings, right? So you said something I was like, oh my God, this is it. I feel the same exact way. I highlighted it. You said something about feelings being like clouds and they will pass no matter what you think, no matter how unbearable it is, they're gonna pass. It is so funny that you said that because my friend and I just wrote a book. Anger is just a wave, and it's about how your emotions are just waves and they'll pass through you and things like that. So we're trying to teach the kids that your emotion right now has nothing to do with your whole life. Because sometimes they'll feel frustrated. My life sucks. I hate life. No, that's just an emotion. So that's what we're trying to teach the kids too. uh, let's say if we taught this to our children, right, as parents, as teachers, how do you think the world would look?
Well, there's a chapter in my book called Universal Identity. Identity, the only problem and only solution. So I talk a lot about that in that chapter on identity. If we were to teach kids in the education system their true identity, that they are a part of everything and everyone else. And this isn't a philosophy, this isn't a belief, this isn't a religion or some sort of dogma. This is just the way it is. My body is made out of the same material, earth, water, air, fire, and ether, space, as your body and as every piece of physical matter on earth. We're all made out of the same material. The energy that beats my heart is the same energy that beats your heart. We may have different uh, different occupations. different hobbies, different likes and dislikes, but that which keeps us alive is the same. And if all kids grew up with that understanding, just because somebody else looks different, acts different, talks different, is a different skin color, it doesn't matter. We're all made out of the same stuff. And that would bring so much more compassion and understanding into the world and love of one another, and so much less hatred, um, because we understand that we are the same as our neighbor. And if we knew that, we wouldn't harm the next person, because we would know that if we're harming someone, we're actually harming ourselves.
Yeah. When me and you were talking on the phone when I was driving home, remember on Wednesday? Uh, I got hit by a truck again. Okay, so I'm getting on the highway and I'm getting hit by a truck again, which just happened before. This time around, I had no like my body did not react. Like you in your book, you were talking about how your sister and you got stuck somewhere, that the car died, right? And she panicked, and you didn't panic because you already knew it is what it is. You know, what are you gonna accomplish by panicking? So that happened, and the guy who hit me, I mean, I pulled over, I looked at him, he cursed at me and just left. So now I have a choice. Do I stress about it, or do I just get on that highway and go home? And as I'm driving, I tell myself exactly what you just said. I said, maybe he has a family he got to take care of, and he can't lose his job right now. He can't get in trouble or anything like that. And maybe I can just visualize that my car is fine. And I did. I visualized coming out of the car. It was like an hour later, and it's fine. And then I forgot about it. I came out, and the car was fine. It was just a little scratch. And then I read your story about your sister, how you guys got stuck with the car in the middle of nowhere. So I can totally see you being so chill, like it's okay. When did you start doing that? Like when did you realize that panicking is not gonna help anything?
I think meditation plays a big part in that, because when you sit and you're just meditating and you have your eyes closed and your thoughts are going 1,000 miles per hour, you have so many different thoughts going through your mind. When you're in meditation, the whole idea is not to quiet your mind or like put effort towards quieting your mind. It's more so about acceptance. So when those thoughts are going and you're thinking about 100 different things, stuff from your past is coming up, things that you need to do in the future, all this stuff's coming up, and you're just sitting and allowing it to be, allowing it to pass, and you're practicing what I call non-reaction. So if you can sit with all of your thoughts without reacting and jumping around and like getting up and going to do this and going to do that, you simply just sit and you allow all those thoughts to go. Then once you practice meditation consistently, which I talk about this in the book, you achieve the goal of meditation, which is becoming meditative. So sitting in meditation isn't so you can experience some profound visions or something. It's so that when you enter into the world, you bring this non reactive, meditative ease and peace and calm into your everyday life.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. That is like a
meditation.
superpower, to be honest, because now I kind of have it. I'm still a little hyper. I'm still like, I like to be all excited all the time. I'm not like you guys. I know a lot of spiritual people are very chill and calm. I'm still like a little crazy, but when I go into my job, which is Department of Education, and it's all based on fear. Everybody's always supposed to be scared. And I see how stressed out everyone is and how that stresses the kids out, and now the kids are misbehaving. So because everybody's mirroring each other. And I even noticed the days that I'm completely calm and peaceful, the kids are all well behaved. They all perfectly behave. If I'm going through something, the kids are off the wall. And they'll hit you and bite you and scratch you. It's like almost like they mirror in me, right?
Yeah, I could see that, because you are, as the teacher, as the leader in that environment, in the atmosphere at the time, you have to, you set the frequency, or you set the mood, or in other words, you're holding that container for those kids. So imagine like there's a speaker and there are a bunch of people, there's an audience watching that speaker and listening carefully. And They look up to this person who's talking, they trust him or her, but the speaker they freak out and they start going crazy. The whole audience is going to do the same. But because the speaker is holding that container, so
Yeah.
it's important that,
Do you do
if
that?
you're,
You do
what's that?
speeches? Do you do speeches for your book?
It's, I will be in the future. Yeah, it's definitely in my vision.
You
I
said
haven't,
you had an event the other day.
yeah, I did. It was small. It's this place is called a kava bar where we go to. They don't serve alcohol. They serve like medicinal drinks like Blue Lotus,
What?
kava. There's kratom. I only like to drink the Blue Lotus because it's a very meditative drink, but there's a bunch of spiritual people that go there, right?
I
Like,
heard about the Blue Lotus. It's the woman, I don't know her name. She's advertising it. So now I'm gonna try it. What does it do for you?
it's very meditative and calming,
Oh yeah? I'm gonna try
and
that.
people talk about how it can help you have lucid dreams and stuff. My dreams are already always crazy, so I don't know if the Blue Lotus helps with that, but
Huh.
it's well known that like the ancients used it to like astral project and all this type of stuff.
Wow. I can't believe in Ohio they have spiritual places. That's really nice because you're not gonna see that here. In New York, everybody's stressed out
Look it
and
up.
drunk.
Look up a kava bar. Maybe that's where the peaceful people go.
Oh my God, I'm gonna look it up. I can't. Text me later so I don't forget. Wow, that's amazing. All right, so let's go. Let's pretend that everybody is already a non-reactive. Let's say
Meditative.
everybody's like that already. Not everybody, but let's say you're like that already. What can you like? What if somebody dies or leaves you or you miss someone? What can you do about that?
So this is a really really good question because feelings will arise, and it's not like you just become like cold hearted, like you don't feel anything. Like the whole idea is to allow yourself to feel whatever comes up.
Yeah.
So if someone very close to you dies and you don't have any emotions, I would probably question your humanity a little bit. Even if you're a spiritually woke, enlightened being, you're going to have emotions. And a big part of keeping this meditative, sort of non reactive presence is allowing yourself to feel because whatever you suppress and you don't want to feel, like the negative emotions, they will eventually come up at some point. So this is when you get into like healing and self love and shadow work and all these words that people use to describe it, because you have to feel in order to heal. So
Mhm.
I I'm not an advocate of suppressing your emotions and just acting like everything's great. Now maybe you're not going to be reactive in public when you're around people, but maybe when you go home, you journal, you meditate, you cry, you scream, you allow yourself to feel that stuff that's happening, whatever situation happened that triggered it. You embrace the negative, you embrace the uncomfortable feelings. And like you said earlier, like clouds, they will eventually pass, and you just go with the flow of life.
Chris, unfortunately, when you are part of the matrix, which means you have a 9 to 5 job, you have a child, and you have to obviously cook and clean and all that. Like, when do you find time to process those emotions? You know what I mean? I feel like the matrix is making it so hard for us to feel because we constantly have to run, 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 and do and do and do things. You know that it's really hard. For me personally, I feel like I have been carrying unprocessed emotions for at least 7 years until I took psychedelics, and that just came out. It just came out. It was like crazy crying for hours, just crying for hours. It came out. But that's the hard part. But listen, I want to talk about the boundaries. I've never heard about this before. I love the way you said it because I feel the same way. So you're talking about boundaries. That we always want to break boundaries, human beings, right? You know how they discovered more land and everything like that. So I feel this way about science. I started feeling this way about science. I feel like whatever happens, happens. Why can't you just accept it? Even an illness, right? Maybe it's meant to be. Maybe you're not meant to be alive. I don't know. But because we want to always find out and we're always trying to beat nature. Do you feel the same way? That science and all that, we're trying to beat nature.
So science and spirituality kind of have one thing in common, which is accepting that we really don't know. We don't know the ultimate nature of life
I mean, they're trying
intellectually.
to find out.
They're trying to find out with numbers or intellectually, or they're trying to quantify it. They're trying to come up with a logical answer for life. And
Yeah.
it's not possible. And that's why all the spiritual cultures and traditions, they are pointing us inwards. Science is pointing outwards and looking at the stars and the planets and the galaxies and
Yeah.
the atom and breaking down the atom and cutting open the animals and figuring out what they are all about. And but the spiritual person knows that the only way to know life is to know yourself because you are life.
Yeah, wow, I love that. I love that
So
because you know what it is? We're talking about like processing feelings, right? Let's say I'm sad. I have to always find the reason why. Maybe because I'm hormonal, maybe because I didn't drink coffee. Like, why can't we just accept it? I am sad. That's it. It's gonna pass. What's the difference what the reason for it is, right? I mean, you agree with that? Do we need all this, explanation for what's happening in the body, what's happening in the brain? So psychedelics. Um, I learned about psychedelics after I felt the effects, right? So whatever happened to me happened. I got up and I was like, what was that? Like, why am I only craving vegetables right now? Why am I so obsessed with nature? Why do I love animals all of a sudden? Like, all these things happen. And then I went and started listening to podcasts and reading all kinds of stuff. So obviously science has an explanation for, they call it neuroplasticity, neural pathways are connecting, things like that. But how do you explain all the other things, like you said, like craving vegetables, being connected with nature, having so much empathy and love for everybody all of a sudden, realizing we're all the same, we all share consciousness. How do you explain that besides?
so I can cut open your brain and I'm not going to find any emotions, right?
Right.
So that's a more spiritual side of life, which we can measure like different fluctuations in the brain and different chemicals in the body. And like if the body changes chemistry or the amount of neurons that are firing and then which part of the brain and all of this stuff. Like it's cool to know that, but you're still a human being that's feeling something and you're being pulled this way or pulled that way or repelled from this or repelled from that. And that boils down to energy and frequency. The way I would even view that is like we have an aura around us. Some people have the ability to see this aura. That's not one of my gifts. I can't actually like see the colors of your aura. I have a few friends that can,
They can
but
see it?
they can see the aura around people. Yeah. But this aura is like a magnetic field. If you think of a magnet either repels or attracts. That's kind of like what our aura does. And then like whatever we feel and the things we're going through and whatever we think, it's also being projected into the aura. It's like a energetic field around everybody's body, around everything. Some people have a larger aura, smaller aura. It's just different frequency, different vibration. That's how I guess you could explain it if you're trying to think of it logically. Um, but does that sort of answer
Can
your
I
question?
make an appointment with one of those people that can see my aura? I want to know what it looks like. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
I'm
sure you
not in
could.
Ohio. Yeah, what do they do for a living, those people? Your friends?
Oh well, one of them, he's actually the owner of this kava bar that I go to. He's a healer and a medicine man, and he can,
Wow. You
yeah,
are
he
in really good company over there because I don't have anybody here.
I'll tell you
Almost
what, I was where you are before, not location wise, but I didn't know anybody. I thought I was the only one that's waking up. I'm like, where are my people? But they will come. They will come when the time is right.
people that were my friends that I spoke to sometimes daily. they can't relate anymore. You know, my best friend actually, she's a nurse, and she wants to open up her psychiatric practice, her own psychiatric practice. And she's been in college for like 20 years. And she finally gave in and she said, I'm going to need your help. You're going to have to tell me where to start because my body is killing me. I am like falling apart. You know, at 41 years old, she's already done. The amount of work that, you know, you do constantly. So do you believe that self-care is like one of the most important things to rest your body and your mind?
Yeah. Um, I'm a big advocate of meditation. There are a lot of different healing modalities that people do to rest their body and their mind. But meditation came easy for me, and I've realized it's very hard for other people. So some people, yoga helps them, or breath work. Um, but I think having at least 10 minutes, at the very bare minimum, 10 minutes of just being with yourself every day and sitting in meditation and doing some kind of breathing practice without
Same.
thinking or trying to figure something out, just being with yourself. And I say, uh, if you can do it for 10 minutes, great. If you can do it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, that's even better. And
Yeah.
then you can be as active as life requires. Like if you need to do 1,000 things during the day, great. If you're in a meditative state, it won't have that negative, uh, destructive effect on your body when you take that time to just be. It's like charging your phone. You have to plug it in and allow it to charge at some point.
But do you agree or do you believe that when something happens and you start resisting it, you're trying to change it, and you say, that's not how I planned my life. It wasn't supposed to happen to me. I'm gonna fix it. That this is what creates resistance and creates suffering.
So, do I agree that resistance creates suffering?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like basically the opposite of acceptance. You saying, you know, you if you just accept it, but if you don't, because we don't, people don't do that. Like you said about the car, you were driving and you thought you had no oil, and then you overfilled it with oil, and that created more issues. And you just accepted it. You say it is what it is, right? But if you say, "Oh my God, I have no money now, I gotta go fix it," and then that's when you create suffering in your mind.
Yeah, it's how you perceive the situation because, like you said, you create suffering in the mind. It's
Yeah.
important to realize you create that suffering, and it's created in the mind because the life situation is what it is. It happened. You can accept that it happened, or you can resist that it happened, and you can cause that suffering. Now, most people are not in a state where they can just accept it, and they will get frustrated. Sometimes I still get frustrated when things happen, and that's okay. Like you should not beat yourself up about it. Like, oh, I'm not awake yet. I still get mad. This is, bad. I shouldn't do this. And then you start to beat yourself up. That's never the route to go either, because then it just causes a downward spiral. It's just important to be aware of whatever compulsions you have that come up. And the next time life throws something your way, you can remember to take a deep breath. Don't allow yourself to get frustrated. And if you do get frustrated, it's okay. Maybe sit with the feeling for a minute, notice it, feel it, process it, and let it go. The more you do that, the less compulsive you become, the more conscious you become, the less reactive you become.
So you're saying it takes time and practice. Go ahead.
Most people have 30, 40, 50, 60 years of compulsive reactive behavior. So that has been formed in the chemistry of their body and in their mind. Like something happens, I react, I freak out. It's in their wiring. So it takes time to rewire, right?
Yeah, the rewiring. See, that's already science there. So yeah, we just reminded me, my co-host, we started microdosing together. And as we started microdosing, we all of a sudden we just don't want to take shit from anybody anymore. Like it's just weird. No more people pleasing and no more like we enforce boundaries now with everybody. Don't matter who it is, a child, a parent, whatever. So she actually had a problem, not a problem, she had a reaction where her father, who is wonderful, she loves him, but his brain is wired to yell at you all the time. And all of a sudden, she was like, I'm done with that. I don't care that you're my father. I don't care that you were whatever old. You're not going to yell at me anymore. And she told him, and he would actually thought about it and kind of apologized. Let's talk about boundaries now. When you're a spiritual person, they say, oh, you're so nice and peaceful and loving all the time. But no, I don't think so. You do enforce boundaries with people.
It's funny you asked that. I just met someone recently, and I was like, "So, how do you perceive my energy?" And we got into this conversation, and she's like, well, "I know one thing." She's like, "You're not a people pleaser." I was like, "I'm not." Um, and she just noticed that quickly. And I mean, I guess I have certain boundaries that it just comes naturally sort of to me. Like I'm on my path. I have my vision. I have tunnel vision. Like I know what I'm here to do. And if something doesn't, add to that, or if it doesn't benefit in some way, or let's just say if it takes away from my vision and it, takes away my peace or takes away my clarity or causes too much turmoil, then I'm just going to, not allow that to be a part of my life, not in a negative way, but in a loving way. Like that's just the way it.
So let me ask you this. So I did ask you about twin flames. If you know anything about, if you had experience. I don't think you do. Thank God. Good for you. I hope you never meet your twin flame. I hope so. So I met mine 2 years ago, and it was not my type at all. But something just kept telling me, go, give him a chance, go on a date. And the same thing for him. Something kept telling him, it's not my type, but go. Make the long story short, he left me close to 20 times, right? It turns out he also has a bipolar disorder. So we were madly in love for like a month. We have a beautiful relationship, and then something happens in his brain. He leaves me, and we're both in agony for a few days, a few weeks. Now let me ask you this: if I did not resist the first time around, right? If he left, and I should have said, "All right, it is what it is," you know. Do you think that would prevent me from suffering for the next 2 years? Because it kept going back and forth.
So a thought that says like it is what it is not necessarily going to override the feelings that come with that separation. Because once you get, I guess, the good word would be entangled with someone, especially if it's sexually or if it's just deeply intimate, and then like uh, that bond is completely severed, like right there, you guys just split and you don't talk. There's going to be feelings there because you created a connection. Some would call it soul tie.
Yeah, so there for
Literally, your
sure.
energies were intertwined and entangled with each other. So if something's entangled, when it's pulled apart, there's going to be consequences. You're going to have to go through some things. You're going to feel some things. Just
Uh-huh.
like when you get cut on your body, you can't say, I'm just not going to pay any attention to that cut. It's
It
there,
is what it
but
is.
it takes time to heal, right? And
Yeah.
I would say the best way to deal with such a situation is accepting whatever you feel. Remember those uncomfortable feelings, just accepting those feelings, allowing yourself to feel them rather than suppressing them and saying, I'm not going to feel like this because I'm bigger than that. No, what you feel, you feel. It's there. Like admit that it's there. Allow yourself to feel it and realize that eventually it will soon pass. But don't
You
suppress it because then it's going to come up again in the future.
But do you think it will pass? Because supposedly, I don't know if that's true, but so far that's the only answer I found is one soul split into two, and when you meet, that's it. It's like a Kundalini awakening and everything, and your energies are on the highest vibration. They say that twin flames have the highest vibrational energy, and they are basically here to wake other people up. But he's not awake yet. He's a guy bipolar disorder. So, but like, what if it doesn't go away, Chris? What am I gonna do for the rest of my life? What if I have a soul tie with someone for the rest of my life?
There are many things you can do. You had a kid, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure when you split from, his father or whatever happened, I'm sure you went through some healing,
No,
or maybe you
not
didn't
even
process it.
close.
I don't know.
No.
Well, I mean, let's say for somebody else's experience of life, they go through a rough breakup. It feels like it's the end of the world. And then a couple years later, their life's 10 times better. They found someone 10 times better.
Yeah.
It just takes time for those feelings to go back down to normal.
Yeah. I love talking about the kids. That's my favorite thing. So you have the journey from childhood to adulthood. And I love that you said that because the kids, their needs are met, right? They don't have to go to work and cook food and things like that. Their needs are met. And they are joyful and happy, and that's natural. It's natural for them to be joyful and happy. You said it's not, if they have a little tantrum, that's not a big deal. That's not unhappiness. All your survival needs were taken care of, so you naturally wanted to explore life. Right, explore life. I don't think we are allowing them to explore life. They are
Mhm.
in school all day. I know, I'm a teacher. Then they have 3 hours of homework at night. And then, of course, they want to escape this, so they go on their devices, and they become an addict so early, in age, instead of going outside and playing in nature with friends.
Yeah, it's sad. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Oh, good. That's why I'm writing those books. The
That's
first
what
one
we
is,
need you for. Yeah, we
yeah,
need you to write those books.
the first one is called Come Play Outside. Very simple. Come play outside. And it's just all the things they can do outside, how they can make friends, they can go ask neighbors if they want to play. My son is 9. He's a genius. He is a creator. Oh, I wanted to talk about that too. And I said to him, help me write this book. I said, tell me, what can you play at the playground using your imagination? He goes, soccer. I said, that's not imagination. Basketball. I said, that's not. He was like, that's hard. I don't know how to do it. What do you mean? That's what you're supposed to be doing as a child, no? Using your imagination?
Yeah, I remember when we used to run around with sticks, and
Yeah.
if a stick looked a little bit different, it would be a different kind of gun. Like that's how we played. I would get a big, huge stick. It would be a rocket launcher. I would get
Yeah.
like a straight stick. It would be a sword, and we would just play and come up with all sorts of crazy uh, situations.
That's fun.
It was so fun. I don't know if kids, they're probably not doing that today, especially probably not in New York. Oh my
No,
goodness.
not
I don't.
good. Not good. So my son, I feel like he's a light worker. I feel like my son has a very old soul. When he was born, he was a genius immediately, right away. Now I know why. Now I'm thinking he has an old soul. So he's 9, but he's definitely a creator, right? He creates arts and crafts. He make, like you said, the guns and the swords. He makes that out of cardboard in 2 seconds, and it has all kinds of details and everything you imagine. So he doesn't require a lot of money for me to spend on him on games and toys because he makes his own. So he's going around the neighborhood arguing with everybody that come play outside, stop sitting on your devices. So he's the one who, inspired me to write the book. And his health got much better because he had migraines. Because I'm telling you, this kid, he's just like me when I was young. Did you ever have that? Migraines and stomach aches when you were young? No?
I'm blessed to not have had that. Yeah, I've never really had migraines.
That's what I feel empaths have. Highly sensitive people like me and him. Anyway, so the playing outside and being with friends, that kind of helped him with his migraines. So that's another reason why I want to write the book. Do you think that every person's purpose is to create something?
I think in order for a human being to be fulfilled, they have to have some sort of creative expression. We
Okay.
are made in the image of the creator, which makes us creators ourselves, mini creators, you could say. So, oh, what's that? We're like mini creators, and a lot of times we're not given the space to create, or we just take orders like at a job or something, and we don't have our own creative pursuits. And I feel like that can result in a lot of like depression and all these crazy diseases that people are being diagnosed with.
Yeah. So this year I had another synchronicity. I always taught, I teach special ed kids, right? I always taught my own class, but this year administration decided to make my life a little easier. And they gave me like a cluster teacher position, which I teach social studies now. And now that I teach social studies, I love it. I love it so much. It's about cultures, geography, the earth, all that stuff. And I started putting for the kids most beautiful places on earth videos while they're doing work, and everybody's energy changed. People are like, oh my god, I want to go there, where is that, and it says where it is. And I told the kids, yeah, you should, you really should, you should go there, you should go here, you should go outside and just go play outside. So anyway, I started looking at these ancient civilizations, what they built, right? Like Taj Mahal, the Great Wall of China, all those amazing things that they built that took what, hundreds, thousands of years to build. And then the Europeans came and just destroyed everything and conquered everyone. So do you think that those civilizations that they knew, because you said you studied their wisdom, right? From the ancient people, right? Do you think that that's what they knew they had to do, is to create something, and that's what they dedicated their lives to?
Well, for the ancients, their first basic need, which all of our first basic need, is survival. So once the survival needs are taken care of, they can become creative, and that's why a lot of those ancient cultures became very spiritual after their survival needs were taken care of. But most of their life like was dedicated towards survival, because like we're born into this world where we have houses are built. There's buildings, there's skyscrapers, there's apartments, there's like we've never had this amount of comfort and convenience before.
Yeah.
So we have so much comfort and convenience, and then to top it off, we're given a device that you can look up every galaxy in the universe. You can see it on your phone screen. So then, like, we feel like we know everything. Science figured everything out. There's no need to be creative. The ancients, however, they didn't have access to all this stuff, so they still had a very open mind to like explore life. Going back to that, like explore life. So they were able to channel their energy in many different directions instead of just like today when kids are sent to school for 8 hours or however long they're there for, and then they have homework, and then they're in their phones. They don't get to channel their energy to anything beyond that.
Yeah, that's so sad. Chris, you know what I had? I had a vision. Well, not a vision, maybe my imagination. I don't know. But I wanted the schools in the future to be definitely not like now, not like a jailhouse building. Yeah, I don't know about Ohio, but in New York, it's these old buildings. Um, I see something like people living more like suburban type of life, and the kids that go to school, they learning different skills like how to grow your own food, or how to make your own medicine, or how to make clothes, like things like that. That's what I feel like we want to go back to that, to be happy, because we're never going to be happy. I stopped buying things. I used to constantly, every time a little discomfort, I go on Amazon and I buy myself a new dress or a new this or new that. Like you said, it's you never going to be satisfied if you're going to look for external validation constantly. A little discomfort, we cannot handle it. Oh, I'm sad today, or I'm bored today. That's it. Let's go fix it right now. That's terrible. And I lived like this for almost 40 years. I was drinking 3 4 times a week, and I had no, because I wanted to be a little happy, a little more social, a little more creative with the kids. The kids actually like it when I used to be a little. No, they do, because I'm so fun. We go do things, we cook, we make videos, whatever. And now, no, nothing like that. If you are bored, fine. Like, what would you say to a child who says, I'm bored?
Well, what would I say to a child who says I'm bored?
Yeah, what would you say?
Well, I haven't had to say that or experience that because I don't have a kid
But
yet.
let's say you did. If a child comes to, I'm bored. I want to do something. I want to go somewhere. I want to go to Chuck E. Cheese. I want to go here. Can you buy me a game? What would you say?
If it was my kid or just any kid, I guess my
Your
kid,
kid.
right?
Your kid.
Well, I would hope I wouldn't have to hear that, because I don't think I would give my kids like devices, electronics and stuff, or if so, they would have like a designated time period that they're allowed on it. Um, but I would also plan to like be out in nature. Like I would not want to live in a city. So I would say go play. That'd probably be it. Go play. Go find something to do. Go outside. Go running around in the woods. Go build a fort. That's
Yeah,
what I used
and
to
that would
do.
work. And that would work 100%. But like my son, he can't go by himself. He wants company all the time. When we were in the car, remember I asked you, when you go on social media, on Facebook groups, like we're in one of those groups, spiritual groups, and you have the For You page, so all the content that you're interested in comes up, which is for me, it's spirituality, healthy eating, things like that. So it seems like everybody's waking up. But you said it's not really like that in real life, right? I mean, I
You
don't.
said that. You
Well,
said
I
that,
said that, but you
and I
said you
agreed.
agree. You agreed. Okay.
Yeah, because okay, I'll give you my perspective on this because I haven't been able to share it much. So we, you'll hear like when we start to wake up, we start to meet other people in our environment or online that are starting to wake up and enhance their perception and see life differently. And we think, oh, people are starting to wake up. People are starting to wake up. But how, like, that's a very limited perception because maybe 10, 15 people, 20 people that are starting to wake up. And then you come to a conclusion that, like, the whole world is going through an awakening. Could it be? The whole world could be going through an awakening. But when I go to Walmart, it doesn't look like it. When I walk around in public in a college city in Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, definitely doesn't look like people are waking up. Um, all I can do is my best to help people wake up. Is there a mass awakening going on? I don't know. Let's say 20 years ago, 25 years ago, um, you were just starting to wake up, right? 20 years ago. And you start to meet a few people and they're starting to wake up too. And you come to this conclusion, oh, like now, it's now. Now everyone's starting to wake up. Like, I feel like that's what happens. Like, since it's happening for us now, we think now's the time. But if it happened 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, I'm sure those little groups of people were saying the same thing. Now it's time. Everyone's waking up based upon their small group.
Yeah.
Now, could there be a universal consciousness awakening, like Age of Aquarius, all this stuff they're talking about? I don't know. I hope so. Could be. I don't know though. Like all I can see is what I can see in my environment and online. Um,
Chris, I
yeah,
have a solution. We
that's what
gotta
we need.
start with kids. We gotta start with kids, not
That's
adults,
what I
kids.
say here. It starts with the education system and
Yep.
creating conscious leaders.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you one fun, interesting little story really quick. I know we already at like almost an hour. So in my school, I think last year they started this program. It's called Miracle Morning, right? It's just coloring books. It has a whole bunch of affirmations, positive affirmations, but they are coloring. My kids have no idea how to color or how to even read or understand or even talk, right? Because they're special ed. But it's okay. Um, just the fact that my school alone purchased that program is already a lot because we have like 6 buildings, etc. Now, I told my friend who we read in books with, the children's books with, I said to her, listen, I was like, somebody came up with that idea to do that Miracle Morning book for coloring for kids. And this woman right now is planting seeds, and I didn't know it was a woman yet. As soon as I said that, the next day the woman came to the school and had like an interview on the morning news. We have a morning news on the school, and she was telling a story how she was dying basically. She was in a lot of pain, and these positive affirmations saved her life. And she wants to share it with the kids because she says, I did it I was older. If you guys have access to that when you're younger, how wonderful would that be? And unfortunately, my kids don't really understand it. They don't even know how to color. But I feel like that's what we should start doing. Definitely. So things like that, like a coloring book or a children's book or a video, even educational YouTube videos. I want to start doing that too, because teachers use that a lot in class, because kids these days, they can't really focus on the book. They might see a video. It's easier for them. So I was thinking about doing something like that. So I think that's what we should do. We should start with, you, whoever. Start with the younger generation.
Absolutely agree. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree. And I love your vision for that too.
Oh, thanks. My
Yeah.
son started using words like ego and intuition now. I told him the other day, he says, should I go to karate? I said, use your intuition. Don't rationalize, don't think about it. Just try to, I said, close your eyes, put meditation music on, and try to feel, do you want to go to karate or not? So now he's using the word intuition. Good. Which growing up, was the total opposite. They were telling me, stop making decisions with your feelings, make decisions with your mind. Like, I feel like, no, I thank God that I made decisions with my intuition my whole life. Thank God I didn't listen to my mother.
I agree with it to an extent.
uh,
I think there's a good balance to have between the mind and the feelings. Like, for example, if I don't feel like going to the gym today, but my mind says if you go to the gym, you're going to, you know, you're going to feel better if you go to the gym. I might not feel like it, but I'm still going to go because I know that, like, logically, that's what I need to do to continue to better myself. But if I were to give into my feelings, like, oh, I feel like going to eat a big chocolate cake, so I'm going to go do it, but I know that it's unhealthy and it's going to mess my stomach up. My mind has to kick in and say, okay, it's probably not smart to do that. You know what I mean?
but what if you need a chocolate cake? What if that's what you needed? Or what if you go to the gym and on the way to the gym something happens and then you're like, oh, I should have listened to his intuition.
Well, that's why there's a good balance, right? The masculine and the feminine, like this whole existence is just a balance of masculine and feminine, positive and negative. So the feminine is more feely, intuitive,
Yeah.
flowy, and then the masculine is more like uh, logical, goal driven. Like, who cares about your feelings? Just do it. So it's like there has
Yeah.
to be a good balance between the masculine and the feminine. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the twin flame thing too. That's why the twin flames cannot be together, because they have to go separate ways and heal their energies and like find balance with the masculine and the feminine or something like that. I mean, I'm not there yet. I still have an ego. I'm fighting with my ego. I do feel sorry for myself. I do feel bad for what happened to me, but I'm trying to get rid of it. Like, what if somebody, no, everything is my fault. I was gonna say, what if somebody did something to you? But then I was like, nah, it's all my fault. The people pleasing, it's very good that you're not a people pleaser, because then you have nobody to blame. I would people please and then blame them, because I did all of this for you. So don't people please them. Don't give your money away if you want your money to come back. You know how much money I gave away to people that they never gave back to me? Thousands of dollars. And that my fault. Nobody's problem. That's what happens, right? When you have no ego anymore. I mean, do you ever get rid of ego altogether?
No,
No.
no, you have to have ego. It's
What?
healthy.
Oh, it is.
Um, it definitely is to be. It's there has to be balance. It's the same thing with everything. Like, there has to be balance. Like, if you go to school and you have no ego, that means you don't. That means you're not a teacher. Your name's not uh, Irina.
Irina?
You're just a blank slate at school. Like, you have to have that identity, which is ego is identity. Like, for
Yeah.
different situations, you have a different identity. So
All right. It seems like I have a lot of practice to do, but at least I know what I'm doing and where I'm going. You were like already, you just turned 25. How long you've been doing this? You said you teach meditation. How long?
So meditation, I've taught for, well, I guess 5 years, roughly 6 years.
Wow, that's crazy. And like when you teach meditation, do you sit with those people and you guide them?
Well, I have guided meditations that you can just press play, but if somebody's in like one of my advanced programs and we're working together, then yeah, I would definitely sit with them and help them through it.
That sounds very similar to also the psychedelic journeys. You know, when people go into the journey, they have to have the coaches sit in there with them. Which I was considering doing that, but thank God I didn't, because now I'm all obsessed with the kids. Kids, like I just want to get that information out to the children, you know, in the form of books. Disguise it as books for kids. But in reality, I feel like they're going to be books for parents. Let your kids go play in nature. You know, don't give them those devices. Don't keep them isolated at home alone, you know? All right, Chris. And we already have 1 hour. Let's say goodbye. So thank you so much for coming. We finally made it. I know I rescheduled many times because I was going through something. Dark night of the soul, I think it was. I don't know. But thank you so much that you were patient with me and you didn't give up. And here we are.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been
So, thanks so much. I think people are gonna love this. And you'll send me a picture of you. I'm gonna put on the cover art. Friends, thanks for listening. This was a pretty long episode. I hope you enjoyed. A very, 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 very interesting episode. So it's gonna help a lot of people. And I will see you next time. Hold on, I'm gonna stop recording.